That's great.
Since we have given them 2 minutes, we will give each of the speakers 2 minutes today. We'll start with Roland Lebrun, followed by Winifred Ormond, I apologize if that's incorrect, and Rosa Jockel.
Good morning, directors. So since we get an extra 30 seconds, I'd like to start with something pleasant, and unfortunately I got to close off with something less pleasant. If you look at the slides for the San Francisco and the airport, and the very last one, slide number 17, it shows you that we could do something really beautiful, which is to put a real high-speed rail station halfway between San Bruno and Berea, and then we can extend the A train, and bang, we'll have a direct connection to everything there is to be in the airport. Another thing that you may consider, which is what we're going to do in London, when you come off from Brisbane, instead of taking this curve on the 101, you can have a straight shot to the airport. Now you've connected Transway to the airport in 10 minutes. And then start thinking London, why would you stop there? You can actually carry on. Your next stop's going to be Foster City. Guess what's there? That's Oracle. You carry on, you just follow the PG&E power lines. You're going to hit Google, you're going to hit Facebook, eventually you're going to be in San Jose Airport. You can link the two airports in 20 minutes. You now have a virtual airport in London. We call that Heathrow and Gatwick. So now let me finish off, and it's unfortunate Mr. Richards is not here, because he and I have been communicating on this extensively over the last couple of years, and all our correspondence is here. So, Mr. Richard told me that the board would be looking at international systems for guidance and best practices. And I unfortunately assume that this would include shared load level platforms similar to those found in European blended systems. So unfortunately, your staff and consultants did not read Mr. Richards' letter. So I wrote to you again last October to share concern about emerging issues with compatible platform heights. I never received a reply, so I spent last Christmas writing another letter that explained how European regulations ensure that a French low-floor double-decker train can share platforms with an Italian high-speed train. 20 seconds. The final straw was last week, Caltrain announcement. I had agreed with your technical staff to remove nearly 200 seats per train to accommodate an extra set of doors for different platform heights. In closing, the authority has now closed the bridge too far. And unless things change in the next couple of months, I'm going to leave you with two alternatives. First, I and others will start lobbying for legislation that will confine your activities to sections of tracks capable of sustained speeds in excess of 150 miles an hour. And second, we will defund the entire project and get the job done ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lebrun. Winifred Ormond. Ament, thank you. Thank you. And then Rosa Jockel, followed by Ross Browning.
Thank you for this opportunity. I wasn't expecting to be called, so I apologize for my clumsiness. I belong to the Unitarian Universalist Church of San Mateo, and if you know anything about Unitarians, we tend to be very progressive, and this year we are undertaking a project to leave a smaller carbon footprint on the planet. And we would like to know what we can do to facilitate this project, because we don't believe that the planet is served by putting down more asphalt. And if you look at Europe and a lot of the Asian countries, high-speed rail is definitely the way to go. I was a Pan Am stewardess. I can tell you that flying isn't getting more comfortable. And I think I know our congregation would love to take the train, have more train travel available. So we would like to know how we can help in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Amon. Rosie Jockel, followed by Ross Browning and Helen Sullivan.
It is a pleasure to study the connectivity, opportunity, and sustainability benefit of technology. We have 51 years to set the record of a sea. So why don't we have it here now? Three barriers. The first, the party versus the people. While 88% of Americans support high-speed rail, it has become the #1 target of one party due to inclusion to the other party economic stimulus package. Second is the Koch brother exposure. U.S. energy analyst Greg McDonald observed that fossil fuel and automobile industry combined and outspend rail and renewable alternative 100-1 in media campaign and legal bravery. We now know who is heavily funding the opposing political party. Third is observing defense spending at $600.4 billion annually. The U.S. spent the same at the next rank, 14 nations combined. The U.S. High-Speed Rail Association advocates for $20 billion annually investment in nationwide high-speed rail network. This is only 12 days worth of defense spending. Effectively balancing the communication of benefit of the barrier will help move this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ross Browning.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the board. Since Chairman Richards isn't here, the statement that I was going to read, I'm going to paraphrase. In fact, I'm going to paraphrase two documents here. The first one, I had to discuss a little background. I had a discussion with Dan Richards, and he identified a member of the staff to me and said, that is my person, that's my go-to guy for matters of speed and times. That's okay. So I talked to this gentleman several times, and over a month we had several conversations, and we got into a discussion about me not believing that they could make San Francisco to San Jose segment in 30 minutes with the current level of Caltrain service on the peninsula. He admitted that there were in fact studies that had been done. Up to this point he's been telling me no studies had been done. Now all of a sudden he admits that they have been done, but that he couldn't share them with me as they belong to the authority. Well, I got home and I was going through a few papers on my desk, and I came across a Dan Richards statement that said no speed studies had been done or were available. Well, which is it, Dan? They either exist or they don't. You've either got them or you haven't. You can't have it both ways. And I went on to ask him for a copy of those statements. I have another document here to Mr. I'll paraphrase the heck out of this one. Mr. Morales, you've been quoted on camera saying that the current high-speed train alignment meets the criteria as outlined in Prop 1A. Statement was used to justify the elimination of the I-5 corridor and most of Highway 99 corridor as potential high-speed train alignments. Research shows that I-5 and portions of Highway 99 were both eliminated from serious high-speed train consideration, sometimes either in or before 2005. But in any case, well before the arrival of Prop 1A in 2008, and also your arrival as CEO in 2012. I go on to ask that I'm formally requesting a certain amount of documents, any studies, reports, papers, memos, notes, slideshows, or other video presentations that were made or used in the determination that the current high-speed train alignment through cities, schools, churches, hospitals, medical facilities, police and fire stations, playgrounds, museums, historic sites, offices, municipal buildings, parks, rural roads, farms, homes, churches, dairies, water discharge basins, wastewater ponding sites, veterinarian facilities, and animal treatment and disposal facilities were superior to any of those existing transportation corridors that were not elected. I read these two documents because they were information that I was requesting from Mr. Morales and from Mr. Richards, and both of them are dated October the 4th, 2012. As of this day, today, you figure out the time distance yourself, I have not either heard that they received these, or that I was getting them information, or I was not getting the information. It either was available or it was not available. And I think that a little over 2.5 years is time enough. I'm particularly interested in getting Mr. Morales' comments because I carry this with me wherever I go. This is the 4th one. I've worn the others out. And I keep looking for the statements in here that I hear, and they aren't there. So I want somebody to show me the error of my ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Helen Sullivan, followed by Mike Waitlatch and Shelley Andranigian. Yeah, I know, Andranigian. Thank you, Larry. Thank you very much, Shelley. He forgot where I was from.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm a resident of Kings County. When I first got involved in my dealings with the high-speed rail, it was almost by accident, and it became very personal. My brother and I found out, as I said, quite by accident, that the route going through the San Joaquin Valley was right through the middle of land that my parents had had for over 80 years and worked and died to keep for us. I decided to learn as much as I could about the project at that point. I soon learned that the rail would not merely rob me of my inheritance, but it would do so with total disregard to the everlasting impacts that it would have on the environment and the economic structure of our valley. As I attempted to learn more about the project by asking questions of the rail's representatives, I received conflicting, evasive, and often completely incorrect answers. This continues to this day. It became apparent to me that the HSR representatives were truly not interested in outreach and were not interested in working with us, but only they were interested in doing their job that they were paid for by whatever means necessary. And we were, in effect, lied to, patronized, and completely disregarded in every way. This shabby treatment of those who stand in the way of the rail authority continues today. I am one of the landowners who received a flash appraisal, done without my notification or input, done from the roadside without complete information about the specifics of my property. This appraisal and offer were then mailed to an incorrect post office box. It incorrectly listed the names of the landowners. It failed to recognize any legally binding leases, easements, and the placement of or even the existence of irrigation pipelines that would have to be relocated. Attempts to establish a dialogue with your representatives are met, as I said, with evasive, confusing, and often untrue and intimidating comments, intentionally intimidating comments. I was told by phone that I had 30 days to respond to this offer. If I did not respond within 30 days, legal action would be taken against us. Mind you, that is nowhere in writing in that 1.5-inch thick document that I received in the mail. This apparently was a thinly veiled attempt to intimidate me into cooperating. It didn't work. This whole process is being done wrong. We are the citizens and the taxpayers of California, and we will ultimately end up paying for this train. We deserve and we demand to be treated with respect and honesty. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Mike Whitlatch. He will be followed by Shelley Andranigian and then Jerry Brozell.
Good morning. Mike Willach, Corcoran, Kings County. I'm a guy got a little emotional last time. Told you about my wife and my house and so forth. I just want to thank you for some of the board members that came up and gave me condolences about my wife. I thank you for that part. Told me their stories. But what I really came here today, I'm just a working guy. Took a couple days off to have to do this, losing wages. My house, I've told you the story before, but your last board meeting, you told Diane Gomez to give you guys all the good, bad, and ugly. After the meeting, she came to me, give me her card. I will contact you. Or contact me, she said. I called her that day back from the meeting. 5 weeks today, I have not heard from her at all. No contact at all. And my biggest thing was telling her or telling them that I haven't had an appraiser, but I've had never the relocation people contact me or anything at all. And I talked to an agent this week because I finally got my appraisal back. Bad appraisal, typos in it. They had the acreage wrong, house room size wrong in one part, the other part. I told the guy, I just want to be treated like everybody else. A lot of us, as you just heard, are not being treated like everybody else. It's not rudely at all, but there's something going on that people aren't getting organized in their thoughts or lines and so forth. I hope I'm not an exotic speaker here and I have it all this typed out. Excuse me, my notes here. Also, a question, I'm going to skip one thing. Question last board meeting, there was a comment about, and my house has been condemned to noise, but there's comments from other people in our group that how many feet away do they have to be from center line of the tracks to be down, and I don't know if there's any answer on that at all yet. Also talking to one of my neighbors talking about appraisals, is my neighbor got her second appraisal, and there was $100,000 difference between your guys' appraisal and her second appraisal. That's wrong. You know, I don't know where they come up with these numbers. I got my appraisal back. My house is based on energy efficiency, not having solar. When I got the appraisal, I looked at it. People are getting credits for solar panels, but the house that I built, energy efficient, is not getting any credit line that I can think of. And my other comment is I called the appraisal twice and asked for a return phone call. The appraiser that appraised my house has not recorded my phone call at all. And one of your agents called me and I told him my story. He was really surprised that the relocation people haven't contacted me before I got my bid back. And he was surprised that he said, oh, let me contact the appraisal guy. But he's not an appraiser guy at all. He had all kinds of stories to walk around, the appraisal guy. Really, really sad on that. Well, talking neighbor, outside. Oh, I just, you know, she had an appraisal. I mean, she had a senior construction people there. He told her in a conversation, I wish I had a recording. He told him, we have the money to take the houses down and build a dirt mound, but we don't have any money to put tracks on this thing. Told it to a homeowner, landowner. That is wrong. How are you going to, your people are going out telling people, well, we can build, we're going to destroy your house, destroy your life, but we're not going to complete, and we don't have enough money for the rails. You're destroying people's lives. You're destroying mine and everybody in the line of this thing, that this dairy, these people's property. I know it's going to happen, but life goes on. But I want to let you guys aware of what's going on in our community. You guys sent a group of people to Corcoran, and they asked a city meeting, about if there was any place to put us in the city. The city came back and said, no, we do have not any property at all.
Mr. Waitler, could you, if you wouldn't mind, could you kind of draw this to a close?
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, it's quite all right.
This is real quick.
Your comments are important to us as we're.
Okay. I'll get out of here.
Okay.
But there's no property in Corcoran. Corcoran recommended them making a subdivision for us. Said we can't do that at all.
Okay.
We cannot. I mean, I have to move now. Why do you have a limit of 50 miles? Okay. And then my last 1 second, is that from I understand from another person's getting their land taken, the moving companies have told you guys, we will not finance you guys at all. You have the homeowners, we have to pay for it, and they will reimburse us. That's wrong, too. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. The comments with regards to the appraisal process are certainly noted. I watch our CEO taking notes. When we say that we're going to do something, it's our intention to follow up, and I'm sure that will be the intent here. The process is so regulated by law. What we want you to know is and understand exactly what your rights are. And so the idea of a difference between one appraisal or another is what happens in the appraisal process, but that's why it's so important that we pay for and you have the right to get a second appraisal. That's the way the system works, and that helps to ensure that you get the most amount of money for your property. But again, it has to be supported by the concurrence of appraisal. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you. Shelley Andronigian, please. Thank you. And followed by Jerry Brazel and Alan Scott.
I hope Mr. Richard is doing well. And good morning,
You. We'll
acting.
pass on your good wishes.
Thank you, acting chair, Mr. Richards, CEO Morales, and members of the board. And welcome, Mr. Correa. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Shelley Andronigian, and I address you today as the granddaughter of Armenian immigrants who came to America over 100 years ago. Not everyone from our family made it out of Armenia alive. My mom's dad's younger brother was murdered while at Euphrates College in Karpet, Armenia. My dad's paternal grandfather was murdered in the late 1800s while on the way home from milling wheat for bread. They are among the over 1.5 million Armenians massacred by the Turks during the first genocide of the 19th century, which began before 1915, a genocide that has never been properly recognized as we observe the 100th anniversary this month on April 24th, 2015. Mom's maternal grandfather was a missionary and foresaw what was happening in Armenia and was able to get his family out in 1907. My maternal grandparents settled in Oleander, which is in the eastern area of Fresno County. In the early 1930s, my maternal grandfather was taken out of his modest home there in the middle of the night and forced to sign an agreement for his raisins. The local company's logo is of a bonneted brunette. My paternal grandparents, who came from Von Armenia, settled in Kingsburg. My paternal grandmother, who did not speak English, had to deal with a number of situations as a female business owner who, as a 26-year-old widow, was raising a farm family of 4 young sons during the Depression era. Dad also farmed in Fresno County, and that is where I was raised. The home place of the farming operation, which is along the coal slough of the Kings River, there has been in existence since 1945. Our farms in the Central Valley have fed and clothed the world. We inadvertently found out at a meeting in Kings County in May 2011 that our home place was one of 2 large properties of ours and the proposed pathway of California's high-speed rail. The path was and remains a diagonal one through each property, which is separated by Highway 43. These properties were flash appraised last year by those who represent the California High-Speed Rail Authority. Our property that we started farming in 1987 and is adjacent to Highway 43 was the first to be flash appraised. We met with the team that did so and had them do an appraisal on this property with us, the landowner, present in December during the holidays. You should need to have an attorney and accountability group members also present to assure everyone acts civilly. The home place property was to have an appraisal with the same team and us present in late March. However, the right-of-way team changed. The right-of-way team that flash appraised our properties last year was replaced with a new team sometime earlier this year. No one has given us a straight answer as to when. Meantime, our home place property that has fed and clothed the world the past 7 decades and was scheduled for an appraisal that included us, the landowner, ended up on the State Public Works Board agenda in late March. We were wrongly placed on the Resolution of Necessity, RON, agenda, and as of this date are not exactly sure who placed us on the fast track, pun intended, to eminent domain. I have good reason to believe it was the overzealous right-of-way team who had been replaced by the new right-of-way team, but have no proof. I just know our family and others in the pathway have had to continue to deal with shenanigans at every step of the way, and many continue to be mistreated by those who represent the rail authority. We are currently working with the new right-of-way team and everyone's schedule to have their appraisal with us included scheduled for May before harvest begins. The run for our home place was rightfully pulled, which kept us off the path to eminent domain, at least for the time being. There were a total of 5 properties pulled from the 43 parcels on the agenda that were run at the State Public Works Board this past Friday, April 10, 2015 in Sacramento. How many other impacted properties that were also flash appraised should have been rightfully pulled that day and in the months prior, especially since the authority has been coordinating with the State Public Works Board to acquire property that includes properties that have been flash appraised before presented to the State Public Works Board. Our family and those who remain on proposed paths of the California High-Speed Rail, including many in the neighborhood of Easton and Fresno County where my maternal grandparents settled after arriving here over a century ago from Armenia and where my mom was raised, must be treated with respect by being included in the process. Thus far, this has not been the experience for many despite repeated requests and assurances. I leave you with an excerpt of a speech I made before the board on September 10, 2013 in Sacramento. I kindly ask each of you as authority board members, chairman and CEO included, and everyone else affiliated with the California High-Speed Rail project to start treating all in the proposed pathways with respect. Please stop taking advantage of everyone, especially those whose first language is not English. It may have worked nearly, it may have worked nearly 100 years ago, but this is the 21st century. Bullying, lying to, and trying to cheat those in the proposed paths of the California High-Speed Rail to make the largest flawed infrastructure project in the world happen at any cost confirms the desperation of those at every level who are involved. It's time to wipe the slate clean. Wipe the slate clean. You'll earn the respect of everyone, including yourself. Thank you and safe travels. And I'm here to speak on behalf of those who are not able
Ms.
to speak.
Antonini,
And I have copies for everyone.
our
Thank you very much for your time.
For our transcriber, do you need, would you like a copy of what she's just stated? Can you leave a copy for the transcriber? Thank you.
And this is my speech from September 2013. I want everyone to have. Thank you very much.
Next is
Okay, thank you and good morning.
Jerry Brazel. Thank you, Mr. Brazel.
My comments are in reference to item 5 on today's agenda, high-speed rail and the San Francisco airport. If adjustments aren't made with the BART system, then the northbound high-speed rail stop at Millbrae connecting to the San Francisco airport will be worthless. I'll tell you why. From San Jose, rather, as you're taking Caltrain north and in the future high-speed rail, if you get off at Millbrae and want to go to the San Francisco airport by BART, you get off at Millbrae, you cross with your luggage and everything else to get on BART, but then you have to take BART north into San Bruno, where you get off of BART in San Bruno, cross with your luggage again to the other side of the platform and take BART south to the airport. That's a 3-seat ride. Now, that means 3-seat ride, and it should be a direct ride from Millbrae to the airport, but it's not. In the Army, I was taught about the 6 Ps. Prior planning prevents a pretty poor performance. So I'm hoping that with correct planning, you'll correct this somehow, and the problem with the connection from Millbrae to SFO will be corrected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Alan Scott, followed by Diana Lacombe and Lee Cunningham.
Good morning, Vice Chair Richard, members of the board. Unfortunately, I have to follow on the same theme that's been started already, and I need to read this because it is absolutely disastrous. Once again, I come before you with another extremely troubling communication failure by the California High-Speed Rail Authority's Land Acquisition Group. On March 10th, the board meeting, 6 residents from Kings County provided some very specific information. However, one situation stands out. As it is very disturbing, it is a very disturbing communication error that has resulted in ongoing harassment condition to Mrs. Alicia Gomez of Corcoran. Why is it disturbing? It appears that the board nor the authority did anything to resolve this serious lack of professional due diligence. The Gomez family should not have to be worrying about errors created because some lack of due diligence by the acquisition group. On April 10th, last Friday, the State Public Works Board meeting, I addressed the concerns occurring on March 18th, 8 days after the 10th. Mrs. Alicia Gomez's ex-husband of 10 years was recontacted by the Land Acquisition Group. And I will read, he has no fiduciary or license or anything else, whatever you want to call it, in the property in question. Why are they now calling again when she said they are calling and no one on this board or the authority took the time to stop an egregious situation? So what you have is her ex-husband got another call, and she got text messaging from this individual. And I've seen the messaging, and it's not good. I need to continue, Mr. Richard. Since February, the land acquisition team had contacted the ex-husband. Anyway, I'll move on a little bit. At the completion of the State Public Works Board meeting, I talked to Don Grebe. I will admit in the beginning it was a little bit heated, but the bottom line is we ended up mutually agreeing on some things. I did find out this. He never knew about Diana Gomez's, not Diana, but Elisa Gomez's issue with the ex-husband being contacted by the land acquisition team. He did not know that. He did not know that on the 18th that the land acquisition people had contacted the ex-husband again. On top of that, on the 19th, she went to her attorney in Hanford, California, and registered with him. So, being an ex-HR person, I can tell you right now, harassment is not fun. And harassment can cause some things. I use the operative term, the attorney now has it. At this time, Mr. Grebe was not aware of the issues. And then in September of 2014 at the board meeting in Palmdale, Ms. Shank was aware of the issues, spoke to Ms. Andernikian, and we had thought at the time that we should be getting some information. We fast forward to January 13th board meeting, and at the meeting, Ms. Shank asked Scott Jarvis how things are going in the valley. Well, I was watching with Frank Olivera at his home because we thought the fog was going to get us. And Mr. Jarvis said everything is going well, am I right? Why am I here? Why am I here and all these other people here? So I will say this here in closing. Therefore, our questions for the entire HSR operational environment are these reports and incidents acceptable practices? If not, how long will the board is the board going to allow these problems to continue? Remember, since September, assurances have been given that all is well without question, and it is not. What will the board do today? Because it's very clear nothing has happened during the last board meeting. I mean, 8 days later, she's getting harassed. Is the board going to do anything to ensure that the land acquisition process, regardless of what part shall be professional, regardless of what part shall be professional, within bounds of existing California law and codes, and in closing will include competent due diligence that shall be accomplished prior to any contacting any landowners? I thank you very much, and I am providing a copy to you folks.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Diana Lacombe, followed by Lee Cunningham, and our final speaker is David Cameron.
Good morning, Vice Chair Richards, members of the board, Mr. Morales. 2 items I wanted to discuss with you today. I noticed that you're having certification workshops, I believe in Bakersfield and Fresno. I'd like to recommend a couple of things. One is that you add the DBE certification as well, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. Add that to the certifications as well. The other is that we have mentioned to this board and recommended to this board that a separate certification process needs to be established in order to use these federal funds. And we also said that BART, in order to use these funds, set up its own certification process, something which this body can actually do. Join with them instead of just reopening or duplicating what they're doing. So I think that's very important. If you don't feel that you need to have this separate certification, it would be great to have something in writing from FRA and from, the high-speed rail. But I think that needs to be looked at. The second item is the Small Business Participation and Jobs Report. I know we got the first quarter report for 2014 and 15, And then we got July through September 30th, 2014, and which was released in December 19th of 2014. What happened to the second quarter report? Am I the only one that knows there was one missing, or was it supposed to be included, somewhere else? I'm not sure about that. The last report that you did set out was in March 2015, but that only went till the end of 2014. So that's my question. Is there another report I haven't seen? Thank you.
All right, we'll look into that. Thank you, Ms. Lacombe. Lee Cunningham and then David Cameron.
My name is Lee Cunningham, and I am the president of Women Construction Owners and Executives, a national organization that luckily has an MOU with the California High-Speed Rail. I'm here today to thank the board and thank Chairman Richards for having flown back to D.C. about a year ago and signed an MOU with us, which hit national press for us and for you at that time. Since that occurrence, we have flown your job, your request for proposal and your job openings to over 40,000 people. We do that on a monthly basis. We also now have established a liaison with every congressional district in the nation so that your logo appears there, given all of your work that goes also out in our newsletters. I also am a member of the High-Speed Rail Advisory Council. And I need to tell you, I own a steel company. I sell steel. I'm a small business owner. And what you have done, setting a benchmark at 30, is an example not only for California, but for the nation. And that is publicized as much as I possibly can do that. So on behalf of my organization and for the small businesses, especially women-owned businesses within the nation and specifically California, we thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Appreciate your comments. David Cameron.
Hello, I'm David Cameron, and I'm assistant to the director of the Teamsters Rail Conference in Washington, D.C., and we represent locomotive engineers and maintenance way guys. I think it's quite remarkable how far this current board has come, and Jim, if Jim is still around, in moving this project forward. And I think we've seen it here today that the folks here who are complaining about the process are complaining about the process, not the system. We're not seeing people come forward and wanting to stop this system, and I know that this board is listening conscientiously to these people's concerns, because I'm sure we all feel it if we were in their position, owning a home or owning land, and it needs to be dealt with conscientiously. Facts are stubborn things, and successful economies depend on an efficient and effective transportation system. We have a growing population. We have airports at capacity. We can't pour concrete fast enough to keep up with growth. Doing so would cost 2 or 3 times as much as building this high-speed rail system. And we have, for those who have talked about the environment, the worst air not in California. We have the worst air in the nation in the Central Valley. This system is going to be a boon for the economic growth of the Central Valley and for the environmental conditions in the Central Valley. And I just wanted to take a moment to come up here and thank all of you for your work, and I look forward to working with you continuing into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron. That's the end of our public comments. We'll now move on to our agenda items. Item number 1 is the consideration and approval of our board meeting minutes from March the 10th.
So moved.
By Director
Second.
Rossi. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Schenk. Call the roll, please.
Director Schenk,
Yes.
Director Rossi,
Yes.
Director Perez Estelano,
Yes.
Director Henning, Director Correa,
Yes.
Director Selby,
Yes.
Acting Chair Richards.
Yes. Thank you. Item number 2, informational presentation